Hey guys, it's going to be all about the rods on this episode of Co-Angler's Corner. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Frugal Muse Studios for this episode of Co-Angler's Corner, brought to you by Olson Home Theater. I'm Russell Olson. Today on the show, I just want to talk about a few of the rods that I use, kind of discuss what I use them for, why I use them, why I believe in that specific rod for that technique or techniques. So why don't we go ahead and get started here. I want to go ahead and start with spinning rod. This particular one is the Vex and Bass rod. This one is actually a medium heavy. I think I ordered a little bit heavier than what I expected. I think I might accidentally hit the wrong rod, but usually I'm more of a medium when it comes to my spinning rods. I use them for anything finesse. Like this particular one, right now I got a drop shot rigged up on it. But Senkos, actually this one might actually be a little bit better rod to use for my Senkos. I might give that a try next year, or technically this year. We are past the new year. I guess I should say Happy New Year, everyone. Totally forgot about that. But getting back to the rod here, like I say, usually I use a medium, and I use them for all kinds of finesse techniques. Like I said, drop shot, Senko, Ned rig, which that Ned rig I've found to be a really great technique. It's something I really have a lot of confidence in. But the reason I use more of a medium is because there is a little bit of give to it, especially when I'm using a super small. This is one of the Iconelli drop shot hooks from VMC, but I generally use because they do have some give. Because for those techniques, you could easily. Well, first of all, on the lighter or on a heavier rod, it'd be, especially on techniques where you're casting out, like the Ned rig, or say if you got a little twister tail grub you're using, basically anything light you're trying to cast out, a stiff rod, on super light baits, I found for me it doesn't go so well. But like I said, any finesse technique, especially skipping, because I know personally some people are really good at skipping with a bait caster. I'm not. So if you're trying to skip under dock with anything, I use a spinning wheel. I'm a big Senko guy anyway, so I use that a lot to skip under docks anyway. But this is not. I tell you what, I feel I've gotten pretty good with a drop shot. I got pretty decent with a Senko, but those are not my favorite techniques. But when the weather's been wacky right before tournament, which seems to be unfortunately a lot, it's especially up where I live. I feel like trying to get a stable weather pattern for a significant amount of time, except for this week, because it is basically almost snowed all week up here. So, but when it's fishing season and tournament season, trying to get a stable weather pattern, it seems like it's like pulling teeth. But so many times I feel like I have to go to this rod, go to these techniques to fight to get bites on those tougher days. So. I would say anywhere, depending on your technique, I would say anywhere. This particular one is a 7.2, but generally I'm somewhere between 6.5 and a 7 usually on most of my spinning rods. So lighter line, so usually I would say the heaviest I go on my spinning reels is 8. For my drop shot, I like 6. I know in some places that can be a dangerous proposition, but I'm trying to get bites. Especially as a co-angler, is trying to get those bites is super tough. So that's all I've got for the spinning reel. Probably the next rod I'm going to show you is, I would say, covers probably a lot of my favorite techniques to use. It is the bait cast reel. This particular one, is it medium or medium heavy? I think this one's a medium heavy, but this one is kind of a good. I don't want to say all around, because there are techniques I limit this to, but there are a lot of techniques I do use it for. I use this. This is I call it my spinnerbait rod. I call it that because it's my favorite technique to throw. If that is my absolute favorite thing to throw, is a spinnerbait. But I'll use this one right now. Has a swim jig on it. Another one that this is perfect for. Chatterbait. Yeah, those are the main things. Jig. Jig and pig I'll also throw on this. This rod I usually, my spinnerbait rod, I usually keep 17-pound test. This is the 17-pound. Sorry, I'm having a forgetful moment here. I can't believe it took me a minute to remember that. Seagar Braze X 17-pound. Now there's other fluorocarbons I've used, and sometime soon I'm actually going to try to do a few comparisons that I can with the fluorocarbons, as far as fish being able to see and stuff. See if there is actually a real difference between the Vicious, which is a good premium line, but it is nowhere near as expensive as the Seagar, the good Seagar lines. So I'll be talking about that on a future episode. Just a side note. So yeah, usually this is my a lot of times steady retrieve, or depending on my technique, and figure out what the fish wants. But those are the type of techniques I would recommend this particular type of rod for. This particular rod is actually a Vexen Strikeback rod. It's actually been a really good rod, I will say, especially strikebacks. They're actually a pretty strong rod. Even my one spinning one, I did break one last year, unfortunately, but it happens. When I caught a 4-pounder a couple years ago, I'm surprised that didn't break, because that was on a drop shot. But no, it was tough, and these Strikeback Vexen rods, I definitely recommend them. So that is, like I said, that one I kind of consider kind of an all-around deal. But the next one, it's like the 3500, the 1-ton dually of rods here. This right here is one of the Vexen bass rods. It is a 7.4 heavy action. I mean, this, like I said, this is heavy duty right here. I use this for when I have to really get into the nasty stuff to get them. So like right now, I've got a tungsten weight on it with a Texas rigged Yo Mama. on it. I mean, this is meant to go into thick weeds, rock. Although a lot of times on rock, depending on where you're at, you can get away with a little lighter, but especially like the thick mats, brush, tree limbs, anything where you might have to really torque on it to get a fish out, or anything else like this. Like I said, this is also a frog rod. You know, like I said, anything where you need heavy duty. This is what you need right now. Got 65-pound braid. You know, it has, it's a little hard. It has some give to it, a little bit, but and it actually casts pretty well when you need to cast. But this is a really a flipping and pitching rod. Like I said, I'll do some casting if I got to get out further with a Texas rig, or obviously on a frog, like Fat Matt Daddy, Ish Monroe's frog made by River to Sea. But yeah, this is, like I said, this is your heavy. This is a heavy artillery right here. I have a little bit lighter tungsten on this one right now, but usually I'll go 3/4 of an ounce to an ounce or more, depending on my situation. When I'm pitching, using pitching and flipping techniques. So that is really it for this type of rod. So, you know, so I've got variations a little bit on all these types of rods, but a lot of them are, for me, they're not just one technique, but they're a specific set of techniques. Like the last one I'm going to talk about here. This particular one's one of the skeet reese rods. It's actually a fiberglass rod. You'll notice this particular one has some serious give to it. And this one I usually have 10-pound line on. I like this particular rod for really anything that has treble hooks on it. Like right now I've got a crankbait on it, but you know, your jerk baits, your walking topwater baits, your whomper pompers, your chug baits, your jitterbugs, your there's so many different techniques, baits that have the treble hooks on them. But in general, all those type of baits that have either dual or triple treble hooks on them, this is the type of rod that I like to use. And here's why. If you use a stiffer rod, you'll just the manner that, because treble hooks are generally smaller than your worm hooks, your offset gap hooks, where you know those various types of hooks. So those won't rip out of a bass's mouth as easy. Treble hooks, for some reason, now seems like when you get a bass hooked on it, there's certain times when it seems like it throws the hook easier. But treble hooks, the bad thing about treble hooks is they get into everything. The good thing about treble hooks is that they get into everything. So, but that softer tip, I have found that softer tip, that more parabolic bend. And this is a medium. This is I believe it's a 7-footer. Yep, it's actually 7 foot. And it tends to hold fish better on treble hooks. Of course, you gotta have your drag set right. you don't want to be overly generous on the drag, but you still got to, and it's something you'll learn to feel. I don't know how else to describe it. It's something else you'll learn to feel. But that between the drag and this rod, it should help keep the treble hooks from ripping out the way they can do with a heavier rod. Another thing I like about the action of these, even lighter crankbaits, it'll cast them a mile, and that's what you really want, especially with crankbaits and jerk baits and things like that. I mean, you really want to cover water with them, and this thing will send that a mile. So that's the type of techniques that I would would recommend for this particular style of rod. So I would say if for some reason you are limited, and a lot of times I don't get the opportunity to pre-fish, so it's hard. It's very hard for me to limit the number of rods I have with me. But if you absolutely have to limit yourself to that number of rods, those are the ones I would suggest taking. I would see if you could get a second one of any of those particular types with you. I would really suggest having a second medium one. So if you can have 5 rods, if you can only have 5 rods, I would suggest 2 of the mediums and then 1 of everything else. So that's, like I said, that's some examples of the rods I use and why I use them, techniques I use them for, and why I believe in them. So that's going to be it for this episode. I appreciate you watching. I want to thank Frugal Muse Books. Did actually a great on-location episode with me in the last episode. So the next episode will probably be after the Wisconsin Fishing Expo at the end of next month. I may upload one more episode before then, because I am trying to get to where I'm uploading these episodes more regularly. So, and then now this show is going to be part of the all-new TeamSFO network. There'll be various shows that I'm going to be starting, along with this one. Probably not related to fishing, because this will be my main fishing channel. We actually have some merch for the show now. I'll have the link for that in the comments below. If you could, if you'd be willing to support the show for even just $1. I have a patreon.com/TeamSFO. That'll be in the description as well. And I hope for you guys that are already fishing out on the ice or are warm enough, where it's warm enough to get a boat on down south, wish you guys all good luck, and go get 'em.